Okay, this is a 30-second commercial, and I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, but please stay with me. In just 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. This company has been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years, and anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. That company is Geico. Go to geico.com today. Sorry for all the numbers, and in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm out of time.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio. A downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast Spike Ferriston, and recorded live from the porch of the famous Malibu kitchen. Now, here's Spike.
All right, here we are. Spike, Paul Zuckerman, Bill from the Malibu kitchen. We're out here, what would you say, 4 days after they let us back in, Bill? Try to keep that mic close to your mouth, too.
It's been 9 days today. So 9 days that we were closed. Friday, a week ago Friday, was the evacuation. You've seen that picture, right?
I thought what we would do this week is just chat about the Woolsey fire and its effect on Malibu. And I know we mentioned it last week. Zuckerman's house burnt down. Bill was here the whole time. I don't have the full story yet on what he was doing. But I think our listeners really want to know what happened, what was going on from both your points of view. Why don't we start with Zuckerman? Well, you brought it up. You brought it up last episode that your house burned down, and I'm sure listeners want to know the details of what happened there. What happened, Zuckerman? What happened with your house?
Well, let me give him an intro. Let me just say one thing. The first house we found on Friday in the afternoon, someone called me from Point Dume. That was on Point Dume. Now we had electric. I'm going to let you talk in a second, but the first house that we heard had burned was your house. Then we found out that my house, which was on the cliff.
But Zuckerman and I was in my backyard, Googling frantically and Twittering, trying to get information about your street, right? And I remember there was a KNX 1070 reporter, and you and I were texting back and forth. She was saying the street behind you, the street in front of you, and then we lost all contact because there was no cell phone information coming out of it.
So from your point, I'm going to tell you.
You tell us what happened with you.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. The main fires on Point Dume occurred Friday evening. It turns out my house survived Friday evening. It survived all night long. The fire had started up by this Woolsey Mountain, which is on the other side of the 101 freeway. We got a call to evacuate Friday. This was Friday morning. I was in Beverly Hills at my office, and Andrea, my wife, had called and said that she had received a notice to evacuate, and she's traumatized. She lost her house at 15. It burned to the ground. So she's very nervous around fire. I had said to her, take some stuff, get out of there, but Point Dume has never burned before.
That's not a space that you worry about because it's on the ocean side of PCH.
Right, but they say that they were
vulnerable. But you never think about it really happening.
There's historic fire burn areas. There's certain places that just burn more frequently. Point Dume had never burned. That was one of the reasons I had bought there. But we couldn't get any information on Friday night. And certainly we saw on the news that my street was burning within 5 houses. There was a house we saw on Friday night, the one that was originally pink, Bill, if you remember, and then turned to baby blue. Yeah. That thing was engulfed.
Now, but what you sent me at one point a stand-up on the local news with firemen in your driveway. They had no water. Right. They were pointing to your house. It was burning. It looked like it was Saturday morning.
It was Saturday morning.
Were you watching television and you saw your own house?
5 different people texted me that picture. They recognized the house. And here's the story that I found out. Some people stayed in the community and they fought the fires and they fought to save their houses. There was a guy in particular across the street from me, Jay and his wife Lynn. They were on the other side of Dume. The ravine behind their house was on fire, and he fought the fire all night long on his own. There was a Range Rover.
You're saying fire extinguishers and garden hoses.
Garden hoses, yes.
Right.
Shovels.
And were they effective? Were they?
She saved his house. Yes.
Wow.
He had.
Is that because most people don't understand what the wildfire means? The situation is it's very windy and there are embers blowing onto your house. So you're kind of going around with a hose, just putting out little spot fires?
Right, because on Point Doom there's a lot of brush, but not very many tall trees. So the brush burns along the ground very quickly, and it moves very quickly. This fire moved at 17 miles an hour. That's how fast it got from the 101 down to Point Doom on Friday. Jay fought the fire, and some other neighbors that were on the other side, they fought the fire as well, and they were going around my house. Apparently, they put my house out 3 times on Friday night, early Saturday morning hours. But the house is on the lot next to me, and a little closer to the pavilions, and the next lot, those caught fire, and those burned down. And while those houses were burning, embers got under the floor, under the house, in the bedroom wings, and they got into, I believe, some kind of insulation where it just cooks and cooks and cooks slowly and gets very hot. And that's the picture you saw,
right?
Where eventually that ignited into flames, and the fire department was there, but they didn't have their saws. They didn't have the equipment to saw into the floor to access where the house was cooking. They also didn't have water. And so by the time they got water, the house, half of it was demolished.
Wow.
And that's what
awful.
we saw on the news.
Well, the listeners are going to have one question on their mind, and they don't want to ask it. I'm going to ask it, and I think you know what it is. Were any cars, no people were lost, no pets, you evacuated, were any cars and or motorcycles lost in this fire, Zuckerman?
Okay.
He's smiling.
None of that was lost, because I know we're on a car podcast. It's a little bit, we lost so much stuff.
Yes.
So much personal stuff, but the cars didn't burn a lot. We left one Porsche.
Well, what was there?
I'll tell you, in the garage I had 2 Triumphs, a 39 Triumph and a 1950 Triumph.
Beautiful
and my neighbor
bikes.
Across the street, bless his soul, he got this guy Jay.
What's
really,
his name?
His name is Jay, and his wife's name is Lynn. He went.
They're heroes.
He took heroes. He still cries if you ask him about my house. He cries.
Oh my God!
Because he had invested so much in saving my house, but he went. He got the Triumphs out of the garage, rolled them to his garage. He went in and grabbed things.
Was he able to start those Triumphs? Because I've ridden those bikes. Those are high. When you say rode them, did he push them?
No, he pushed them.
He pushed them.
I didn't ride him. He pushed them.
And that's up that driveway. Oh my God! I love this guy.
A couple of tires were flat, and I left them flat. Because I didn't want my son ever riding. I wanted to prevent him from riding the bike, so I never really kept him in working order.
Is that something dads are supposed to do, or with kids and motorcycles?
Yes.
Flatten the tires? I'd never heard that before.
Or keep them non-running.
Wow.
Make there some hurdles to get.
Do you socialize with this guy now? What are you going to do for this guy?
I'm going to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
If he wants you to blow him, you're going to blow him.
No, it had to go right there.
Yes.
It had to go to a blowjob. Why would you say that? It's a family podcast.
Yes, of course.
When you found out about the house, you didn't know if the garage was gone or not. When I spoke to you, you thought the garage was gone because I asked about the Triumphs.
Right.
And
we
had said,
we had no idea. We saw the house on fire, and we had no idea whether it was standing. But
I want to jog through this.
Yeah. Smoke damage is terrible.
Here, let me ask you this. You're a litigator. What are the rules for litigating a fire like this? I mean, is there anybody to blame for this? If this was indeed caused by the power company?
If Southern California Edison contributed to this or caused this fire through their operations, and what we're hearing is that a transformer up there blew. If a transformer blew and it caused this fire, then essentially Southern California Edison has strict liability.
Wow.
It means they're responsible to pay for the uninsured losses incurred by people, by property owners and homeowners, businessmen. There's going to be gigantic litigation coming out of this that I bet there's already firms that are working on getting the lawsuits, the multi-party lawsuits filed.
Right, but it's too emotional for you to go down that road. Other than to be,
I would. It's not the kind of law I do. Number one, and yes, it's I as a lawyer, you don't want to really be litigating your own your own case. So I don't need that in my life. This is too stressful.
Yeah. Now, Bill.
Yeah.
Everybody evacuated. They had a mandatory... There are a lot of confusing things about this that I'm confused about, but that I think you can shed some light on, because you were here the whole time. When they say a mandatory evacuation, they opened up the PCH all in one direction. So if you imagine it's 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other way, it was all 4 lanes going out of Malibu.
Not immediately.
And everybody was leaving the city. But then you get on Instagram and you get on Twitter and you see that there are a lot of people, and you hear Zuckerman saying a lot of people who decided to stay. So the mandatory evacuation isn't mandatory? What do you know about that part of it first?
I mean,
you have the option to stay.
I mean, technically, but they don't want you to stay.
And
they made it very difficult for people who did stay, because then they were just housebound.
Now, you're I'm trying to think, south of the fire here? The fire was really up Canaan Dune
mostly
and north. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember
west.
there was an Instagram picture of yours where you showed the parking lot here at the Malibu Kitchen and the Malibu Country Mart, and it's completely empty.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, then maybe Bill's going to sleep in here at the kitchen. What did you do after that moment?
The first night we slept, Judith and I slept at the kitchen. It was so smoky.
Was that the first time you slept with your wife in a long time?
It was the only time. So it was really kind of...
so you're hunkered down here.
Yeah, she wanted to sleep on the floor. That didn't work out so
Did you
well.
have a lot of smoke?
Oh, it was unbearable.
It was.
Yeah,
so did you get the masks?
And no, we didn't do the masks on Friday. But Friday night, it started to flare up again on Pepperdine, at Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Right on that ridge.
And you must have been
9,
terrified.
It was when we were looking at it, because we didn't know what was going to happen. Again, we kept getting reports. By the way, there was no electric, and there were no phones.
Right.
We were in the dark.
No, I know.
So
we were trying to get in touch with you.
There was nothing going on, and all
well,
we kept
now hold on. Zuckerman said Judith's phone was working, and we were able to get information about you that you were okay through Judith.
Judith's phone.
And I said to Zuckerman, that is the rare instance of the wife's phone working and the husband's not, because the rest of the year it's the other way around.
Well, her service, I think she has Verizon.
Right.
And it was really frustrating and annoying at times,
because
because
so
all
scary.
through this, her phone kept working. Although it didn't work at our house.
Right.
When we went back to the house we were living at, we haven't had power for 8 days.
And I know you were serving meals to firefighters. I saw that on Instagram. But you were at Nobu. Like, what? Tell me what you did. After you were hunkered down here, and you're afraid that this place is going to burn down.
Well, first of all, there are a lot of...
keep the mic right up to your mouth there.
Yeah, I'm not used to it. Only when I sing Sinatra songs.
I just want to make sure we can all hear you.
So when the next day, Saturday, and sometime in the afternoon on Friday, the locals started to come out and panic about food.
Right.
They hadn't shopped. Everything was closed and had been closed and was going to be closed for 8 days.
Yeah, we don't know.
Ralph's just opened up 2 days ago.
Right.
And they were letting people in one at a time with a shopping cart. So you'd go in. It was like shop till you drop, but only one at a time, and put as much stuff in the cart as you can, and then go out. And then
did you have to pay?
Else in.
Was it free or
no? That wasn't free.
Why one at a time? Looters? They were afraid of looting.
Yeah, they were afraid of looting. They also
like
didn't
those
have any.
That Bapeware in the
They didn't have any
sneakers
staff.
on Fairfax.
Staff
One at a
couldn't
time,
get
please.
In, so they had no staff. So they had to, and the shelves were basically bare.
Yeah, they don't want everybody taking
They
everything.
couldn't restock just normally. They couldn't
So
restock.
see, this is where I think a lot of people were confused, because it's a mandatory evacuation, but most people are staying. There's
they
all
call
sorts
it
of stories about, the animals, all the horses up in the hills that were saved.
Susie's,
the giraffe story.
Yeah, Susie's horses
Now,
were on.
just to explain who Susie is, Susie works here
Yeah.
at the Malibu Kitchen, and she has
She
horses,
takes care of all
those
of
beautiful
us.
dogs here.
Yeah.
She works behind the counter.
And she's got a couple of horses.
And what is
those horses were on that property with Stanley, the giraffe.
Really?
Yeah, that's a winery.
Right.
owned by-
Semler.
Yeah. And
And
so
that is very close to where the fire was. I mean, it was
very
on fire,
close.
right?
It actually went all around the perimeter.
And what is the real story of Stanley the giraffe? Do
I
you know
don't-
any of the details of that
just
story?
He wanted to have a giraffe on the property.
No, but I mean,
He was a former zoo giraffe. He was a zoo.
It's not his origin story. What I mean by that is they were telling the world, "Don't worry, Stanley the giraffe has been taken care of," or "Stanley the giraffe is safe."
Well,
but really, they had taken off and left the giraffe up there
free with the animal. They just let out of the paddocks. They just opened the paddocks before they left for the fire
to let them run away,
let them run loose. And just run where they were going to run. And now Stanley...
But why wasn't there an evacuation plan for Stanley the giraffe?
First of all,
why was Stanley... But am I wrong about that? Why are you bringing a zoo animal up into the hills and then not have a plan to get him out of the hills in case this happens? It's not like Malibu hasn't burned before. And I'm being serious.
Well, they haven't...
The plan is open the cage and let Stanley run?
Isn't he like 25 feet tall?
Well, how did he get up there?
Okay.
Well, he was a lot smaller when he got up there. The thing is,
so he grew up. So that maybe that's the story.
Who do you call?
I don't have Bill. Okay, hold on. I don't have giraffes in my backyard. But if it were in a disaster zone, I would make sure I had a plan in this day and age to get Stanley the giraffe out of there.
The dead giraffe would have been really bad optics, as you say.
Look, Twitter is already upset about Stanley the giraffe, which is why I'm bringing it up right now. It's a very sensitive subject. You should both know.
It's a goddamn good life.
Tell
me why.
Than all of us.
Yes.
Why does Stanley live a good life?
Okay, he is there.
This is the Malibu Safari, right?
And he's got acres and acres and acres of land. He's got a giraffe house with a really long second story that his head and neck fits
And you
into.
think he's got instincts about? Maybe he does have instincts about fires when you let him out.
Animals up there too,
right?
There's no predators. There's no predators there like in the Serengeti. In Africa, if you're a giraffe, you got to worry about.
So that's one positive thing.
Yeah. It was like
his life is better. That no lions are going to come and kill Stanley, right?
No.
Right.
But the horses, and he's very friendly
but
with
Stanley
the horses.
survived, right?
Yeah, and the horses survived.
And the zebras.
I don't know horses. Do the horses know just to stay away from the fire? Are they
of
good
course.
about? Yeah, so
they were spooked by it. But nobody had any contact. So Susie, for 5 days, didn't know if they were on the property, if they were alive, where they were. I got
right up there.
Yeah, baby.
Wow. So
she had no idea.
So how did she wrangle her horses up after the fire?
Well, interesting. A friend's daughter. She has a friend who, by the way, works for the Diamonds. She's in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
She has a daughter who's on Facebook constantly.
Right.
While Susie was trying to find out where her horses were and call anyone, this kid in Minnesota got on Facebook and started. She used to live here. That family lived here and moved to Minnesota.
Right.
She got on Facebook and found information and found out that Stanley and the horses were okay and on the property.
So
left
she's
on the property.
providing the information that I'm reading on Twitter.
And gave it to Susie.
Wow.
You know what's funny about Stanley?
Yes, I know Zuckerman. Look at the eyes are moving on Zuckerman. We've hit a little. Go ahead. Tell us about what's funny about Stanley.
Well, there's a Stanley right at the table here.
That's right.
Yeah, but I'm not as good looking as that.
Bill's real name is Stanley.
Oh.
He says it's the first cruel thing his mother did to him, but certainly not the last.
Well, I don't know why he's so.
Three?
Yeah.
People ask us all the time about what is Morris Solomon's. Morris is my grandfather's name. Solomon's
my father's middle name.
Your father's middle name. And now Stanley, you could be part of our little group with this name now.
Zelig Velvel.
You don't go by it.
Is that your Jewish name?
Yeah.
I'm Akiva Shmuel Yosef.
Akiva, wait, what?
Yeah, back in the day.
Yes.
Because you're only a quarter Jewish, you were not part
I don't
of
know
this
anything
little
you're
thing.
talking about, yeah.
Everybody, the way you got baptized or you went through communion, whatever it was, we got Jewish names. Me and Bill, we had Jewish names that no one knows
and
about.
what is yours again, Zuckerman? The real what?
The real Akiva Shmuel Yosef.
The
real. It's a horrible thing.
The real.
It's
that
awful.
would be a great Instagram
Yours is better
account.
than mine.
Well, Zelig is made famous by Woody Allen.
Right.
And,
Yes.
Velvel.
Yes.
Velvel.
Covers a lot.
Velvel
Covers
cheese.
a lot of territory.
So now I've heard, maybe one of you guys know who this is. I thought I read somewhere on Twitter that a car collection of very beautiful
Yes.
old cars went up in the hills, 20 cars. they were the things that we don't collect, Bugattis and one-offs, all that old Pebble Beach stuff. Who is this and what were the cars, Zuckerman? What do you know?
I knew his name, but I don't remember it right now. And it's on the internet. It's on Instagram. But, yes, this guy lost his something he was very passionate about. And a lot of his cars were not replaceable.
Yeah, they were one-offs, right?
He's good, and the cars are gone.
But we don't know who that is?
Yeah, we were more upset about Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, the world is upset about Stanley. There's a lot of debate. I'm just want to learn about Stanley. And I feel like if you're bringing a giraffe into a winery up in the hills of Malibu, you better take care of that goddamn thing. And you better make sure you have a better plan than just letting it go during the fire.
Well, it's also
I don't like that.
It's a tough animal to herd and to.
Then don't bring a giraffe to, what do you think, the drunk tourists aren't going to have a good time unless they have a giraffe?
Basically,
I'm just mustering up some fake Peter rage.
Okay, I think the giraffe sells more wine than the wine sells.
I didn't even know there was a giraffe up there. I would have gone to Malibu Winery
Everybody
without
knows there's a giraffe. All the girls go for
llamas.
wine
They do?
tasting. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Up there that
It's
Stanley
a big
hangs
deal.
out with. It's a big deal.
Can you eat giraffe?
No.
Let's say he did cook up there. Would you be able to eat a giraffe?
I'm sure it's better than eating dirt if you're starving, but... why do we got to talk about Stanley, eating Stanley?
Time for a quick break. We'll be right back here at the porch in Malibu right after this. Think of all the weird things found in cars, and I'm not talking about your garden variety petrified French fries or melted crayons. For me, it's crumbs. But I'm talking about live snakes, bizarre trinkets, the kind of stuff that just makes you wonder about, folks. Another thing that'll make you wonder, but in a good way, are Continental belts. Bet you didn't know they're OE in tens of millions of Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, and GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE on the majority of BMWs and VWs. Now Continental is launching the aftermarket multi-V belt with the OE pedigree. It's their OE technology series. Belts that are fanatically engineered for the perfect fit, form, and function. And Continental has an OE technology series multi-V belt for 90% of vehicles on the road in the U.S. and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises working on cars and trucks, a belt should not be one of them. Go with the Continental OE Technology Series Multi-V Belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. To get the full story, visit oetechnologyseries.com.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
We are in Malibu. Welcome back. It's good to be out here again.
Let's talk about Nobu, about the 500 firefighters
Yes.
that
Okay.
stood on line.
That was great. Okay, now I want to ask you about that. I was on the Malibu Kitchen Instagram. You can check this shot out yourself, and you'll see a shot of all of these firefighters at Nobu eating. And you were there cooking. And explain what was happening in that, because you're not normally associated with Nobu.
He's a friend.
And the other way around, and firefighters too. I understand that they're getting free meals. What were you doing there, Bill? Bill is a local hero. What were you doing there?
No hero.
You were doing what you do best, and you were helping people with your incredible cooking skills.
Free sushi.
What did you do?
So, Gregorio, who is the main chef, and also runs the restaurant, is a wonderful guy. He's fun and everybody's bud, and people really like being around him. And so he's a very giving person. He called us and said, "Listen, we're opening up the restaurant. I don't want to we're going to have to throw away a lot of food, and we have to start from scratch in our walk-in. They have a walk-in 4 times the size of my walk-in. I mean, it's got to have a couple $100,000 worth of sushi and food in there. I mean, really high-end, exotic, unusual, gorgeous vegetables.
This is De Niro's place too, right?
Yeah. He's one of the main owners.
So he opened up the restaurant to the firefighters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure he knew about it, but I'm sure he sanctioned it at some point. Well, I don't know if De Niro's in New York, but G took it upon himself. I'm sure he talked to his partner, the guy who runs this.
Explain how the Nobu, it sounds like, just opened their doors to the firefighters and said, "Come here and we'll feed you while you're fighting this fire."
And put a buffet together.
Wow.
And
were you there cooking with them?
Yeah. And serving with Judith.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What do you know about making sushi? What did you make?
Nothing. I didn't make. I brought out the soup.
You did?
I served. Yeah, I served.
Wow.
I served some of the soup. I served some of the sushi. I served there was a couple of other things that they made that was so great. These little shrimp puffs, and he made hamburgers.
Wow.
And he made so.
And was this one sitting, or was it just all day long?
No. We did it. Started at around 6, and it went to about 10 or 11 on Monday. Then we did it again. He did it again on Wednesday.
Wow.
So we skipped one day, and I actually, there were a bunch of live lobsters that he had to get rid of that I got. He said, "I'm going to leave the door open for you. Go in and get some live lobsters
Wow,
tomorrow.
what a guy.
Take the lobsters."
What a guy.
I took 'em. I have some lobster salad, by the way.
Isn't
which
it
is
amazing?
really
Like,
good.
I think what Bill's not saying is he's been open for firefighters and emergency personnel for the past 9 days, basically taking care of people for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah.
Do you know how many firefighters are here?
Yeah, there's almost 5,000.
Do you know? And so
Back and forth, different shifts. In fact, last night we were closing, and Judith came in and said, "Listen, there are a couple of firefighters outside who really are hungry. Can you make them like a turkey sandwich?" We just cleaned
why
everything.
aren't these guys fed?
Well, they are, but there was for so
It's
many days.
just so disparate, and there's the fight. It's
and
over many
it's
campuses.
just so
and-
wide and so
Yeah, right,
widespread.
right.
And the trucks that were feeding
And,
one
and,
area.
and what
you
were
know,
the guys like? What were they saying to you when
Oh,
they came in?
incredible.
Were they just
I mean,
destroyed? or?
everyone, believe it or not, every one of them was like Mr. Rogers. If they said sir. I've heard the word or the term sir put to me more than I've ever heard in my lifetime.
Wow.
They called me sir. Thank you, sir. This is the most wonderful thing. I'm giving them a turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they came.
And where were they? Were
This
they?
was last
How
night.
far away were they coming from in to
from
fight this
Arizona.
fight? From Arizona,
Yeah.
huh?
There's a picture. There's a picture of them, of the boys, the first night sitting on the deck of Nobu. Half the moon was out. The glaring lights from the city.
Yeah.
They were looking over the ocean, and there was candlelight on the tables, and they were eating sushi and lobster in their from Barstow in their gear.
Oh man.
So they had all their fire gear on. It's a magnificent
That is the
picture.
best usage of sushi and lobster ever, right?
It is.
right,
Forget
uncooked.
the rest of us. It's these
And the
guys who deserve this stuff.
appreciation.
You
How
know,
much
and
they
the shots you see of them sleeping on the lawn. I mean,
Yeah.
they just their shifts
but
over and they just
here's-
fall
I have
right
to-
where they
and
are.
I
and
have to
sleep.
reiterate this. When we got in a week ago Sunday, we somehow came in through the north, through Point Magoo. We got to our house to see it within 24 hours of the main fire. And when I got into the house, the firemen were still putting out embers. They were spraying water there. There must have been 4 or 5 guys in the house, and I expected them to yell at me to get out. But instead what they did was they said to me, "Is this your house? We're so sorry. What can we do to help you?"
Yeah.
They were so helpful. They were so kind.
Yeah.
They were so compassionate.
Yeah.
They were so generous. They were so really just
Yeah.
truly decent human beings. I can't say enough good things
Yeah.
about
Compassion-
these
the
guys.
compassion
It's amazing,
for
isn't
us.
it?
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing now. Is the amount of firemen? I mean, there are no more fires, but they're here to help us go through the rubble. And they're also finding bodies. They found a few bodies a couple of hours ago.
Here
up
in
the
Malibu?
hills. Yeah, up in the hills.
Oh, dear.
And the other thing that happened a few days right after the fire, when the fires started, I mean, they were flaring up again because of the winds would come and they would go. In the evening, they would come up. But what happened a couple of days ago in the hills was cops discovered that a couple of looters dressed as firemen, and they
No
were
way.
and they were looting houses. They got them. There were a whole bunch of them, probably a group of around 6, and they were scattered, and they were dressed up as firemen in full gear.
Where do you get a
Looting.
fireman outfit?
I don't
That's
know.
what I want to know.
Vermin.
Where do you get that? Let's say you and I were bad guys, Zuckerman. Where would our
Levi's.
first move be?
Levi sells the hats.
Go to
Dickies?
the supply sergeant in
Right.
Hollywood. And,
Right.
But they have no money. They're thieves. Where did they get this outfit?
maybe they had thief investors.
Yeah.
So they had backing.
I'm
Yeah.
sure
They work
did.
quick. They're a good organization. Right behind us, there's this public information map of the Woolsey incident. The size
Anyway.
of this fire. Right
These
behind you,
guys-
Bill. Look.
Yeah, no, I know. I was here when
Spectacular.
they put it up. They wanted,
And there's the little vein
guy
on-
said, "Is it okay if we put it up outside?" I said, "You know
Yeah.
what? Put it in the store if you want."
Wow.
I mean, it's just, and I'll tell you, everybody that stayed was really spooked about when and if the fire was going to start again.
Right.
When this was going to sort of.
Well, it
go
was
away.
really a wind incident that
Oh,
did
it was
this,
all
right?
about the wind.
It was all about the
the
wind.
Santa Ana.
We were
That's the
spooked in the
it really was.
Palisades. I mean, everybody, even Brentwood, right up to 4 or 5, we're all waiting. Well, now we're all next. It's just
Yeah.
going to sweep across the mountain. But it never made it this far. It never made it as far as you guys.
No.
It got as far as Pepperdine, and then the winds calmed down a little bit, and the guys got control of it, right?
Where I live now, which is near Joffrey's, and it's finally opened up last night. But when you get out of the car, you can smell the char and the smoke.
Right.
It's a terrible smell.
It's not wood. It's because you think of it, it's like a fireplace, right?
No,
but
it's such a horrible smell, Spike. Imagine all of the housewares, the pictures, the items, all of your goods combined to make the most horrendous, toxic, cloying smoke. Yes, and the parts of my house that were not burned are so smoke damaged.
Right.
I don't even know if they'll ever be usable because of the toxicity, the carcinogens that are in that smoke. It's not a place you want to be in. And I went in there the first time without a respirator, and I was I know I was not well from the exposure for 24 to 48 hours. I'm sure you felt that.
We've been wearing masks. Judith went out, of course, and found us masks, and we've been putting them on, and then people have been coming in with masks on. I mean, it's gotten a little bit better, but there are times when the air will pick up, the wind will pick up, and it will bring that smoke, not the smoke, but the smell, back into Cross Creek.
Bill, where are people looking for donations? Where's the? I know there's been one. There was a fundraiser Friday night with all the celebrities in Malibu, and they raised over $1 million up there. Gerard Butler and the Gerbers and everyone else.
Gerard Butler.
I didn't get my invite to this fundraiser, but
he couldn't figure out.
Where to find me, I guess, to be part of that. But Sean Penn. You know, one thing that came across pretty clearly was that the people of Malibu, at least for a little while, had their city back just to themselves, even though they're fighting a horrible thing and a disaster and a fire. You could see the underlying community of Malibu for the first time without all the tourists around it. You know, you could just see these are the people. These are the real townsfolk, right?
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that? Because it was
you're
just
very right. They really bonded together.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there were people that have come into
the
store
inner skeleton population of this city was visible.
People that I really didn't care for 20. I've been here 20 years. I've watched these kids grow up.
Right.
I've watched 7-year-olds now grow 17. I've watched 15-year-olds and now over 32. They come back with their children.
Right.
A family came in the other day with those kids. They came in with kids that were their age when I first met them, and they were snotty little kids, and they've grown to be nice adults.
Great kids, right.
Great kids. But their parents, I mean, there are people that come in very entitled sometimes and really tough, and you don't, and you make a snap judgment about them, or you just, dismiss them. And I'll tell you, they came out, and a lot of them, you have time to talk to them and understand what they're feeling and the compassion that they feel for me and the store and how thankful they were. I mean, there were people that walked into the store the other day and cried. And just cried that we were here and that we took care of the firemen and that we were here. It was a place for them to come to.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch. It was really amazing to watch the community and the people really rise up and take care of each other. And by the way, this wrongful perception that it's all rich people out here in Malibu, it's not.
It is a crust of rich, and underneath the vast majority of people
crust of rich.
I
like that, Zuckerman. And then the rest is pot pie.
Exactly,
right?
the lumps
That's
that
the
haven't
delicious
melted.
part.
And yes, some peas and carrots. And a lot of people don't have money and are suffering.
And have lost everything.
I know, Bill. You've taken it on the chin this week. You didn't make. You've lost many thousands.
9 days. 9 days without an income, so it's rough.
Do they pay you for it? Do you get insurance for something like this?
Well, there's insurance at 72 days, 72 hours, and then there's a cap on how much food loss, and maybe there's an SBA thing out there.
Well, listeners, get your ass to the Malibu Kitchen.
Well, we're doing, but here's the thing: we're doing Thanksgiving is our biggest.
Oh
day, but we don't have many orders because people first. It's not the last Thursday of the month, so people don't even realize that.
I think it's also unclear whether it's even open. PCH is open. It was closed for so long.
And if their house is standing, a lot of people still don't know if their house is standing or not.
No, I get it.
So you're losing the biggest day of your year.
And here's the bit. So I'm taking a shot at based on what we did last year and hoping that they'll come last minute. So we ordered all this food, and now tomorrow they're shutting all the electric off in Malibu. It's down for 12 hours.
So you're screwed.
I'm screwed because hopefully we have a generator or whatever. But if the health department, comes by or decides that, it's 12 hours. With no refrigeration. It's 12 hours without any.
Zuckerman, I can see his eyes darting. He's looking for an
Sell him
opportunity.
the food anyway.
I thought you were going to start pushing paper.
No,
tell you what, I'm
going to
write a letter.
I'll write some letters.
I'll write some letters.
I'll write some.
I'm going to
I
take
might
care
need
of
you
you.
with the insurance. There's so many rules and so many things that hoops you have to jump through.
Hey, Bill, you've been around here for a long time. Has there ever been a fire like this?
Never.
Has Point Doom ever burned?
Never.
Never, right?
In 208, there was a fire on this side, this side of Malibu, and that mountain right there that we're looking at was in flames.
Really?
There were houses. It was
bad.
2007, right at the end of 07. It was bad, but not like this. And then in 94, up above Rambla Pacifica, lost 10 or so houses,
right.
Maybe more, 20 back then, and that was pretty dreadful. But
now
this is the worst.
Do you think raking would have prevented this fire?
I know what I like to do with that rake. I like to rake his fucking hair.
If you want to imagine, if you've never been to Malibu, if you want to imagine raking 50 square miles of up and down cliff terrain.
This is chaparral.
Wait, hold on. You would realize a rake is not the right instrument. Like the rake is not, unless it was a square mile rake that could be swept by a giant plane. Like by planes. Planes aren't even big enough.
People in government suggested that we should have raked more to prevent this.
On these federal lands, by the way. On these federally owned lands.
If we had just raked more.
Yes.
Because we have seasons here.
We've had fires before, and there are. The last big fire my way was the Bel Air Brentwood fire in the late 60s, and it famously put forth this picture of Richard Nixon standing on his wood roof. He was renting a house at the top of Bundy Drive. And he saved his house with a hose, like you were saying. He's standing up there in his clothes and his trousers with a garden hose.
In the early 70s.
But he's not president at that point, right?
In the early 70s, I had a Time Life book of the 10 greatest disasters in the U.S., and that was one of them.
It was? And was that picture in there?
Yes, it was.
What is he doing at that point? So late 60s, right? What year, or is that 61?
I think it was in the mid 60s. It was in between when he was vice president and then became president when he was in the wilderness.
So Brentwood was the wilderness at that point?
In the wilderness politically, Ferriston,
I see.
not geographically.
And so he doesn't have people who can go on his roof for him?
Okay. It was a different world, Ferriston. The Bel Air fire, I think, was 65, and I think that they changed a lot of fire rules. They you were no longer able to get those cedar shake roofs after the Bel Air fire.
I think I have one of those right now, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, well.
So Nixon was out of power, and there it is. We just saw here's the picture. And of course,
I've seen it.
Nixon had his pants up high like my grandfather in this picture, up over the belly button.
Now, when I look at that picture, I say there's a guy posing. If you Google this picture right now, that doesn't look like he's actively fighting a fire. It looks like he's shooting for the J. Crew catalog or something.
Ferriston, I will pay you $1,000 to get pants that come up this high on your body.
But Zuckerman, look at his face. He's looking. He's not even looking at where the fire is. He looks bored.
It is. But let's.
That looks like a photo op. That looks fake.
We're going to get.
Come on, give me your. Look at that and tell me that's
not a real picture. They put them up afterwards.
So this is shenanigans picture.
Fake news before there was fake news. Decades before fake news.
We are taking down the famous Nixon fire photo here on Spike's Car Radio. It was a scam. It was fake news.
This was here in back of the.
Anyway, the shots, Bill's showing us pictures on his iPad that he took. They're beautiful shots. You should put some of these up on your Instagram feed. I mean, they're incredible shots. The shot of the big yellow water drop plane that I have flown on simulators coming up over Zuckerman's neighborhood is astounding.
But this helicopter was picking water out of the creek right in back here.
A Sikorsky
Now, why can't he grab the water out of the ocean and do that?
You know what? It really is too rough.
Even for the hose? The hose just drops in, right?
When he gets that low and they're hovering, when you see the DC-10s, they're scooping.
Right,
and they're moving. This would have to hover, and it's just too dangerous.
I love seeing that hose hanging off the bottom.
Yeah, what does
Like
it
a
make you think
schmeckle.
of, Zuckerman? Yeah, like a helicopter
schmeckly
penis. Yeah, Spike. I love a good helicopter penis. Yeah.
Yeah, did you see the
You see it?
schlong on that one?
It was
really
wonderful.
hanging long.
Okay,
Yeah, the
guys,
rotors,
folks,
the
it's now
penis, the
disintegrating
scrotum of the
into
helicopter.
normal-
Back to the normal
It's
shit.
lovely.
Back to the normal
You didn't
show.
ask one other important question.
Go ahead, ask it.
Well,
I don't know the question, but I do want to ask it if it's important.
the important question is, have I stopped looking at cars? Have I stopped buying cars?
No, of course not.
No,
I don't
of
have to
course
ask that. This is how we relieve pressure
buy anything
Exactly.
this
and
week?
anxiety.
I've been looking.
Oh,
I've been looking, but I don't
Zuckerman,
want
okay, well, back up for
Cash
1
registered
second.
and open?
Hold on, Bill. Back up. Just 2 days ago, you and I were moving cars around because you've run out of spaces, right? I gave you a couple spaces in my hangar, but there's still cars that we have no
Yes.
room for, right?
Yes.
There's stuff coming in from other countries, and now you're saying you've got to acquire? Yesterday you were saying I got to sell. What's happening?
Well, the acquiring never stops for the selling.
Yes.
Okay, so the acquiring is a constant process. The selling is intermittent. And and I think we solved this problem by
Yes.
noticing that there is a space next to one
Yes.
of my spaces
This is very exciting.
that is for lease. And I think we're going to do that, and we're going to have a little. That's where Morris Solomon's
That's where
will
Morris
really
Solomon's dealership. I will go get
be. And
my
car storage.
dealer's license.
Oh, yeah,
we will
you've been
set up
saying this-
shop right there, and we will sell these cars to our listeners who need cars.
Oh, looky.
Yeah, all right. We're watching a car back in right now. What is that
well,
color?
Tell them what
Ruby
color
Stone.
it is. What color
Ruby
is
Stone
it?
red.
Is that Ruby
Correct.
Stone? And that
On-
would be, is that Trevor Croft?
I don't know who it is, but
How come he can't drive so good?
I don't know.
What's
You
wrong
can't
with
back
him?
up. Is that a roof?
I mean, if he
It's
What are we looking
it's
at?
A four.
Why did
It's
he
a
pull it
fur.
right in
It's a
between?
roof backwards. It's somebody's homemade.
He's got a reverse light out. Whoever it is. Oh, it is. Those are roof wheels on it. Well,
What is it? We're hesitating too long. So,
Well, it looks
So
like
we
some
finished
sort of
talking
roof.
about despair.
well, just let
and-
me ask you a question. When do you think you're really back in business?
When?
Yeah.
Probably Tuesday, maybe, if we're lucky. I think that most of the businesses aren't going to come back till next Friday.
Wait, I want to talk about cars some more.
Mexican restaurants not coming back until Friday.
Yeah, no one's eating
Casa
Mexican after
Escobar.
the fire.
Casa Pablo Escobar.
So, Zuckerman,
Well, their food.
yeah.
are you getting rid of cars?
I think that
Because you spoke about there are two things actually:
I'll be
anxiety and stress. Go ahead, take a whiz break, Bill. Anxiety and stress
get the comfortable catheters.
are what drive us to buy and sell these cars, right?
Yes.
We like to do that to
Yes.
keep ourselves calm. So, will this experience is going to make you buy more cars
and sell more cars.
and sell more cars?
But the cars never.
What everyone's going, well, what cars, Zuckerman? What are you selling? What are you
think that
thinking about
what we
selling?
need to do, Ferris, is now that we've got a greater concentration of cars in one place, you and I need to go through the collection and determine what needs to
Ooh,
go.
this is my favorite
and
thing.
then I think that we're
The
gonna
question is,
call-
are you going to listen to that?
I am, because I'm gonna
Jerry
run-
doesn't listen to it. He finally came around to it, but it's
gonna
hard.
take-
There's some. You're an interesting guy because you have a lot of incredible, iconic, beautiful, sometimes one-off example cars. But you're kind of like me, where you just like to drive things that are comfortable, and those aren't those cars.
Not
those
always,
would be
and
the
I will-
old, the BMWs and the M1.
I
and-
will agree, and
I mean,
I
the
have
1M.
and I have a love for cars of all different kinds. Robbie Pyle is here in his GTR.
So wait, so stay on subject,
I think
stay
what
on.
we're going to do is, I'd like to get 10 cars and maybe talk to our friend David Gooding and put them at auction.
Well, now
Do
he's
it-
going to hear about this now.
and do that's fine. And
Now,
do
what
a
is our
no-
next auction coming up? What's the big one? Would
That
you do
would-
that in Arizona?
Yeah, I don't think
Is it too
I
soon?
think I think we wouldn't have enough lead time, so we'd be talking Amelia.
Amelia.
We would do
Ooh.
Amelia, or we would do
Okay,
Pebble.
now hold on. We had the Seinfeld Amelia auction. What if now we have the Zuckerman Amelia auction?
And what if Jerry
The
gets on
Zuckerman
the
collection.
stage like he did for his stuff,
Yes.
for my stuff, and he agrees?
That did not help the prices, Jerry getting up on
It
stage.
did on a couple cars.
Do you know how hard I could tell how hard it was for him not to just start doing stand up? Well, I have an audience. And you could see he was like, But I don't think that makes up maybe it does. I think you should get up. You should get up and say a few things. You should get up there and say, these are some cars that I can do without. It's really hard speech, right? You can't say these are my favorite cars because why are you selling them? But at the same
what
time,
you say is you tell a little bit about your story about how
Yes.
you came to acquire these cars and how it's now time for these cars
If
to
you
have
could
other caretakers and users. Because
but also just the flow that you're a buyer, you're
And
a
a
fixer, a sorter, and then you set them free, and you like that process, and you can't just keep hoarding.
it's a vascular system.
It's
And
a
if you
vascular
hold-
system,
and
right.
if you hold on too long, your bladder will explode.
That's right, right. The money comes to you, and it must flow. If the money doesn't flow,
Water
right?
goes in, water goes out.
That's
water
right.
goes in, water goes
You'll
out.
get swollen, you'll pop.
You'll pop, and no catheter in the world will help you. Not even the smooth, comfortable ones you can wear on the airplane, like that commercial.
I love the catheter commercial. It's on MSNBC late at night, right, with the guy flying.
How many fucking people need catheters on the plane?
Well, there's an assortment of catheters, but what they're saying, I think, is that these catheters are so good that you can fly with them.
are they saying? Okay, I can't imagine putting anything into your schmeckle is comfortable. Not even the best ones in the world.
You haven't tried these catheters because if you tried, you would understand. You don't even know they're on. They're like perfect, like dress socks. They're delightful.
They really like, and then you
Yeah.
could like walk up to any girl in the world and start chatting her up.
That's right. You'll
She'd
forget
never-
you even have it.
Yeah,
Wait, I got to go to the bathroom. No, I don't. I have a tube up my dick.
yeah.
I'm fine. Let's go flying. Where should we go? Doesn't matter. Is there a tube you put up your, we talk about the sex diaper, or is it just diapers?
Oh,
You've got your urine taken care of. What about the backside?
Well, that's what the diaper's really about.
There's no
right?
butt catheter, is what I'm saying.
Well, you could have a colostomy bag, and then you could just empty
That's a
it out
bypass-
of.
that's a
That's a
bypass.
bypass. So you could just empty it out of a bag, which is, I think, more horrible than anything.
But there is no, I know there's a flatus bag. I come from a medical family. The flatus bag, which is a tube up your butt, but that's to collect gas, correct?
So you tell me.
Are you doubting the flatus bag?
Let's go buy some.
Well,
do you need a prescription to buy flatus bags?
I know when we're podcasting and we get to this discussion that we're near the end, Zuckerman, that we've exhausted all
Well,
subject matter, cars, etc.
All right, I'm
And,
going to point out there is a 1968 427 C3 Corvette that pulled up in sunflower yellow. It's a big beast. It's a big boy. It commands respect here.
Yeah, some nice cars pulling up here
Yeah.
to Bill's already. The recovery here for cars is beginning.
We're going to take some pictures and we'll post them.
Yeah, and if you're in town, you've heard about these local heroes, not just the firefighters, but Bill at the Malibu Kitchen, the folks that own Nobu. You may turn your nose up to Mobu and go, it's just stupid rich
I'll
people
turn my
stuff.
catheter
These
up to Nobu.
These guys are local heroes. They fed the firefighters. They keep the city together, and they're going to keep going. And we wish them all well, and we wish the
Great
city
guys.
of Malibu a speedy recovery. And check out the local charities, donate a little money, do whatever you can to help them out.
Don't be cheap.
Don't be cheap. It's a special place. What else?
Rake the
Zuckerman?
money in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rake the money out of the hills. That's right. Rake it out.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm not going to talk about what I'm looking for.
Okay,
But if
why not?
But if I get it, because the deal is in the works, I will be acquiring
You're doing
something.
another deal right now? I love the secret Zuckerman deals. It's just one thing I've noticed about you guys, all of us, is really we love buying cars on Fridays, Thursdays and Fridays. And then there's also this little area and that you're really bigger on than Jerry, which is the secret purchase that you don't tell anybody about, so you can just pull up and surprise. It's a very expensive little prank joke that you play there.
But let me tell you something.
Yes.
That blue GT2, the
Outstanding.
996, how good is that car?
It's outstanding. Outstanding.
Worth every penny.
I drove it. I loved it. It's people actually wanted us to talk about that 996s. I think the special 996 cars are definitely worth buying.
They are
I
worth
really
buying.
enjoyed my time in that car.
Yeah. It's a winner.
Yeah.
100% a winner.
Yeah, and I liked my 996 GT3. I've said that before. I would get one of those as well. They're fantastic cars. Well, Bill, you're back. You must have
I'm
gone
back.
number 2.
Fireman just stopped me and thanked us again,
Look at that.
and just thought how wonderful.
You're a real local hero.
No, it just thanked everybody. But
You can't take the compliment. Do it.
Yeah,
Tell
I
him
am
again,
a- I am
Ferriston.
a-
Nobody
fucking
wants to
hero.
accept that compliment. It's hard to accept that, but you are, and
anyway,
everybody
but
knows it.
He just said to me that the consensus is that in all the years that he and all the other firefighters of 20 years have been fighting fires, they've never seen a fire spread so fast.
Yeah.
This, of all of them, Paul, of all the fires that have fought in the last 20 years, this one has spread faster than any of them.
Wow.
Dreadful.
So,
Yeah.
and the winds were stronger than they've experienced in a long time.
All right, fellas. Well, Bill,
Well, let's
thank you
just
for your
thank-
appearance. We were going to do a podcast with you. We'll do another one. We
Don't worry.
wanted to hear some of your stories, but then this tragedy happened. If you
I
want to
want
follow
know
Bill,
about you and the
Yes.
Rolling Stones.
yeah, we're going to hear
Yeah.
about that some other time. If you want to follow Bill, you follow him on at the Malibu Kitchen and
Yeah.
Instagram. That's where he
Thank
will
you.
respond to you. Zuckerman, you know where he is, at the real Zuckerman. And what's the new handle you're going to start? What's your Jewish name? At the real
Akiva Shmulyason.
Akiva Shmulyason.
I have one follower, my mother.
And I'm Spike Ferguson. I'll talk to you on
At the real
Instagram
Zelig-Velvel.
any
Zelig-Velvel.
time you want. We'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Bye-bye.
Quick before we go, 60 seconds. That's exactly how long this commercial lasts. You know what else you can do in about a minute? Get an offer with your car from TrueCar. That's right. In the amount of time it takes to floss your teeth, pet your dog, do a few sit-ups, just listen to my voice, you can get a true cash offer. Best of all, you can do it from your smartphone or at home. Just go to TrueCar and simply enter your license plate number and watch how your car's details pop up. Answer a few questions and you'll get an accurate true cash offer from local TrueCar certified dealer. It's that easy. After that, you can bring your car in and they'll check it out with you together, the two of you. You can even hug if you want. You can ask questions, get the answers you need, so there's no surprises, and simply leave your check or trade in your car for a new ride. So when you're ready to experience a new, better way to sell or trade in your car, check out TrueCar today.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Podcast One is your one-stop shop for everything TV and pop culture. A very candid, not even supposed to be on the record conversation. Check out any of the Collider Network podcasts like TV Talk, Movie Talk, Collider Live, and more. And for you reality TV fans, Rob's sister Nino's got you covered with Rob Has a Podcast.
This is a podcast
There's no
about
substance.
nothing.
Yeah.
You literally have a podcast about nothing.
Check out the Collider Network and Rob Has a Podcast every week on Podcast One or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.